Satnam, Satnam Ji, yogis and yoginis. Hello and welcome once more to another part of this mantra course. Today we're going to go into part 4. We have seen the part 1 was the introduction, part 2 was the vowels, part 3 was the semivowels, and we saw the different sounds of the semivowels and how they affect us in the body. We explored it experientially, chanting it and exploring where does it vibrate within us, and we found that they align very much with each chakra. And so we found where do they resound, but we haven't explored the meaning of them. So in today's video, we're going to go into more of philosophical reflections on the meaning, the possible meaning of sounds. And then we're going to utilize that to start exploring something that is quite fascinating, which is taking a name, your name, and exploring how does the vibration of your name affect you. Because if you are hearing those sounds for all your life, people are calling you in that way, you identify yourself with that. So you identify yourself with that sound. And sounds have particular psychological let's say profiles, yeah? And when you are saying those sounds, and when you're hearing those sounds, that is stimulating a particular understanding, even if it's very, very subconscious. Apart from the vibration that it has in the body, then we have certain kinds of understanding. So that's very interesting to be able to explore. So how does my name vibrate? So we're going to do that a little bit, and we will continue doing that when we go into the rest of the consonants, but before that, let's look for a moment in this diagram that we were doing in the last video, and we were exploring all these little sounds are what we were calling the bija, yeah, the bija sounds for each chakra. It's called like that. Bija means seed. Yeah? These are bija. And I'm going to say bija sounds. I'm not going to call them bija chakras, bija mantras, because I want to make a little bit of a differentiation, which I'm not sure that it really is different or not. But let's talk about this for a moment. Bija means seed. And there is this concept of bija mantras, and when we talk about these sounds, they are the sounds which, like putting a seed into this chakra, making the chakra flourish. Let's say, yeah, chakra is represented like a flower, open flower. So is like seeding the flower, yeah, to planting the seeds for the chakra to open. However, I'm not sure whether to call them bija mantras. They are really like one simple particle, yeah? Lam, vam, ram. So I would say these are bija sounds, and I will talk about what bija mantras are in a moment. So let's say that these sounds are specifically designed to charge, energize, clear anything toxic, and open up those particular chakras that they are assigned to. That's these sounds, lam, vam, ram, yeah. Now, what are bija mantras? Let's explore this for a moment. We have our consciousness, and I really want to go into detail with this in another video, but later on. We have quite a few videos to do in the middle, but this is very important. We have consciousness, and consciousness, the way we understand it from the West, but it's very similar to from the East. I will make the differentiation in the video. But right now, for us to know, there's the consciousness, when I am conscious, then there's the subconscious, which is right below, and then there's the unconscious, which is when I am not conscious, unconscious. Now, in the subconscious, we accumulate a lot of stuff that we don't process throughout the day, things that happen, things that somebody tells us something, it impacts us, thoughts that we have that we don't really process, we don't clear them out, we don't let them go, and they stay there in the back of our minds. Well, that back of our minds is the subconscious. And then during dreaming, then it releases and it goes away and it's cleared. Or when we meditate, we are clearing that subconscious. Now, if we have a very, very overloaded subconscious, for whatever reason, we have had traumatic experiences, or we've had situations which are difficult for us, and the subconscious gets overloaded, that is gonna download into the unconscious. So when the subconscious cannot hold anymore, it goes into the unconscious. Now, when it goes into the unconscious, that's when we really have problems. That's kind of monster thoughts. Those are paranoia. Those are the beginning of mental disorders and psychosis or any kind of mental disease. So the unconscious is very serious when the thoughts get into the unconscious. And that requires some therapy that can go deep down there. Now, there is this quote by Yogi Bhajan saying, when you meditate with a mantra, you can clean the subconscious, but when you meditate with mantra, you can clean the unconscious. In other words, you can destroy the Akashic records. What does he mean? The Akashic records is this record in which everything that we have done is recorded, and you know that whatever we do has a consequence. So we are planting seeds for what's to come. We call that karma, yeah? Seeds of karma is called samskara. Sam is like semilla, like the seed, yeah? The root is sam. So samskaras, karas are actions, so seeds of actions, yeah? So we have this sea of samskaras, where everything we have done and it has to come back to us is recorded, and so that's between the level of the subconscious and the unconscious, very deep. Now, chanting mantras, we can clear, generally chanting mantras can clear the subconscious, and what is saying that without the mantra you cannot go deep into the unconscious. But I would say there's not just any mantra that can go into the subconscious. It's some specific mantras, and particularly Bij mantras. Because if we look at the levels of consciousness, like different states of, like the different tattvas applied to consciousness, we would see the subconscious would be like the water, like an ocean of water, which is very dreamy, very flowing, fluidic kind of feeling. Yeah, you are dreaming, and the dreams flow like water. And below that's unconscious. Unconscious is like a rock, like the bedrock, yeah, of your consciousness, really, really deep down. And when a thought gets there, it gets crystallized, or it gets like a rock, very hard. So in order to go to the earth, that's where the Bij mantras come into. Because Bija is like a seed, you plant a seed into the earth. So my understanding, my feeling is that when you are chanting Bij mantras, they are called like this because they have the power to go and planting the seed in the bedrock of consciousness. And therefore clear those samskaras, and therefore clear whatever traumas we have down there. So not any mantra is a Bij mantra, only some specific ones. And generally they are very simple, short, because that's what a seed is, something very simple and short. And so mantras like Rama, mantras like Satnam, Vaheguru, Om Sohang, these are mantras which would go deep into the unconscious. And of which Yogi Bhajan used to call Satnam Adi Bij mantra. So the first Adi seed mantra, the first seed mantra, Satnam. And that's why we use it so much in the class. In a regular class, we would be saying inhale Sat, exhale Naam. I mean, as a teacher, I've said that thousands upon thousands of times, yeah? In every class, we said it so many times, because that's what we want to create, that vibration in the consciousness of the person. If we read the Sri Guru Granth Sahib, we hear the Gurus again and again saying, just chant the name, chant the name, chant the name. Just breathe it, breathe and Satnam, feel the Satnam in your breath. And that's the most important practice you can do. That's the best sadhana you can do. So it's talking about this Bij mantra. So I would say that some Bij mantras are more for our enlightenment, like Satnam, like Waheguru. And some other bija sounds are more specific for the chakras, like the ones we were just saying here. Okay. Now, we know that for our enlightenment, the Kundalini has to raise to the top of the head, yeah? So these sounds are going to help also in our progress, in our advance, yeah? And it is why in the first video I was talking about how so many stories are created with names of God, many names of God. And what was happening is that as we were telling the stories, we were calling the names of God. And as calling the names of God, we were vibrating the sounds. And we will see that those sounds are very correlated to these sounds and some other very specific sounds. So let's go into seeing what the sounds actually mean and how they vibrate within us. But before we go into that, I will just want to talk about a little book. I'm going to show it here in the screen. One moment. Here it is. It's called Gods in the Word, Archetypes in the Consonants by Margaret Magnus. Yeah, she's very clear. She talks about consonants mainly. She doesn't go into the vowels, but she does cover semivowels as well. And Margaret Magnus was very interesting. She is a researcher. She was doing some project with the computer to analyze language, English language particularly, and she had to separate all the prefixes, suffixes, and the roots of words and categorize them for some reason, some project she was doing. And she realized that there is actually a remarkable similarity between the meaning of some words and the vibration of those sounds. And she was doing some research which was very academic, and yeah, when you write in academics, you have to have a certain kind of rigor and be methodical and very logical. But she also wanted to reflect some of her what she was philosophizing about in relation to all those sounds. And that's why she wrote this little book, very, very short book, but it's a beautiful book. And so she gives an example. I'm going to share it here. So she noticed in this is when she talks about the computer project, she says, one sense of str is linearity. String, strip, stripe, street, they are linear things. One sense of up is flat. So a cup, a flap, a lap, a map, they are all flat things. So if you put them together, you get a flat line, strap. And she talks how this fascinated her. Yeah, well, this fascinates me. I find it incredible, and I've been reading this book with this fascination, this wow of Waheguru, and taking some notes. And I want to share some of the things I read here, but I will go into more detail. Well, we will cover them also in the consonants, but I will go into more detail from a numerological perspective when I have time to get to making videos on the numerology aspect of these numbers, because having a straight line has particular numbers associated to it. So we can explore it from the numerological side as well. And I think that's going to be quite interesting. But for the moment, we're going to focus on these sounds of the semivowels. And let us start with the first one, with La. Remember, the first chakra would be La or Lam. Yeah. Now, something very interesting about La, Lam, Lam, Lam. I was saying how so many names of God are aligned with these vibrations, and now the most immediate here would be Allah. Yeah, the name that the Muslims used to refer to God, and they vibrate it again and again. And how many times do they say Allah in their prayers? And it's interesting that the name of God for Muslims is so associated to the vibration which resonates in the first chakra, because the first chakra is all about earth. And that religion is so associated with the desert energy. There's so much desert in the energy of the Muslim origins. Yeah, now it's standard all over the world, but the origins, they come from the desert, and that's a lot of earthy qualities. And so calling Allah, within the very sound, Allah, Allah, yeah, there is this vibration of earth. And also very interesting, let me write it here. So this name, I'm going to write the name of God that we associate with this. I'm going to write it like this, Allah. And it's interesting that there is this, if you can look at it like this, there is a symmetry, yeah? And there is beginning towards the L and L towards the end. And the L is in the middle, yeah? From the middle comes everything. So this is kind of like a mirror, yeah? One side and the other. And at the beginning we have the A, and at the end we have the Ah, yeah? I don't know if it's I don't know how to pronounce it, I don't speak the language. But I found this interesting because if you remember in the Sanskrit alphabet, we would have the vowels, and they would start A, I, U, E, I, O, Au, Ah. And Ah, that's the first Ah, and Ah is the last one. So I don't know, I actually don't know if this is the way they would pronounce it, the Muslims would pronounce it. Maybe if you are watching this video and you speak the language, you can tell us. Just write it in the comments. But in any case, it's curious, yeah? And so that would be the sound, El, La. So let's check what the little book, God's in the Word, what does she have to say about this vibration? La. So I'm going to share it in the screen as well. Oh, by the way, I know every time I share the screen that sometimes this could be too small for some screens. If you are watching this on a mobile phone, it may be too small for you to read. If so, it's okay, don't worry. I'm reading it, I'm saying it out loud. I'm not showing anything that I'm not saying. I'm aware of that. But I'm making it this way because if somebody wants to do it from a wider screen and they want to take notes, or they want to make this course as part of like a class, something that they are attending to, then I want them to be able to access the reference, the written reference. So I do it in this way. But I am aware that some people cannot read it, just so you know. So I'm not going to go through the whole explanation about L, but she's talking about how when it's followed by a vowel, it flows and it blows and it glows or clusters and glums. And then when it's at the end of words, we have ale, wail, boil, spoil, toil, which is kind of, oh my goodness. When it's at the beginning, we have, she talks about staying light, loose, loving, lively. And I was thinking also how sometimes la la la, we are chanting la 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 la, yeah? It's like relaxing, and she was saying loose, loose, and loving, lively, yeah? So loving and light. So there is something about this lightness and oil, boil, spoil, toil, there's heaviness in there. So there's something about this lightness and this heaviness within the L. So to me that's very relevant because the first chakra is earth, and the earth, one of the qualities associated to the first chakra is gravity. So gravity and anti-gravity would be both associated to this sound, to lam. So I was taking the opportunity to think about a name. And very easily, the first name that came to my mind was Leila. Leila is my niece. She's called Leila. So Leila, I'm going to do an example now on how I would understand the names from the vibration. So the very name Leila is going to reflect double L, yeah? Leila. So there's going to be double this vibration of the L sound, which is associated to gravity and anti-gravity and this toil, spoil, wail, but also the lightness and the loving and like that, yeah? We know that every sound, everything really in us, always has these two sides, the karmic and the dharmic, yeah? So we're going to find that with names as well. There's going to be a karmic side of the name, and there's going to be a dharmic side of the name. Now, I'm not going to speculate about how it is for Leila herself, my niece. I can say for her, for example, that even when she was very young, she always liked to be upside down, putting herself around, yeah? Which is like anti-gravity, yeah? Going with the feet up is like very light, yeah? And the word Leila, ley in Spanish means law. Even though it's written a little bit different, it means law. And the law is something that has a lot of heaviness in it, yeah? So it's interesting that the very name is ley, which is law, and then la, which is la la la, yeah, lightness. So there is this heaviness of the law, and then there is the lightness. So I can imagine somebody with a name like Leila could be experiencing this polarity of things, which can become a duality and some challenges, or it can just be a simple, there are these two aspects in me, and I find the paradox within them. Yeah, something that we explored in the level 2 of Kundalini Yoga when we do the module of authentic relationships. We talk about this polarity and how to turn it into a paradox. Certainly something like this, Leila, would be very interesting to find how is this paradox between the two aspects. I can certainly see in Leila her lightness and her loving and her la 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 approach to life and the anti-gravity. Yeah, I don't see her so much in the heaviness, but then probably in some moments of her life, there is some moments when she's more heavy, yeah? So this is just one example on how we could take a name and explore it through the sounds. Now that we know the vowels and a few of the consonants, in this case is a semivowel, we can start to explore a little bit the sound. So let's do that with the other sounds as well. The second chakra resonates with va or wa, yeah, va, va, va. And this va or wa is the sound of water, yeah? We write water with wa, wa, wa. And it is like the sound of water when we pour it, wa, 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 yeah? So in the vibration of Wahuru is wow, it is indescribable, wow, incredible, this is the wa of the water. And so it's associated with, I'm going to write it here, okay, in orange. Wa, as in Wahuru. And it's the wow, is the wow factor, yeah? And is the awe, yeah? And also, you know, in this wahe, I was thinking how in many classical mantras from all the tradition that is not the Kundalini Yoga taught by Yogi Bhajan, but older mantras, some of them utilize this particle swaha. For example, I'm thinking of the fire ceremony, the Agnihotra, when you're chanting the Mahamrityunjaya mantra, it's finished with the swaha. And it's used like, wow, swaha. So they would chant the whole mantra, Trayambakam jajamahe sugandim pushtivardhanam urvarukam yuvandhanam mrityor mukshiyam amritat swaha. And they would throw a little bit of ghee into the fire, and then it would be like a little flame, yeah? So swaha is like wow, this little illumination, yeah? Which is the expression of Wahuru, wow. So I believe there is a connection between Wahi from Wahuru and the Swaha in these other mantras. Yeah? So very interesting. If we take this, and interesting because Swaha is W and H, and Wahi is W and H, and remember H is the Bija mantra for the 5th chakra. So there is a connection between the 2 and the 5. And there is a very strong connection between the 2nd and the 5th chakra, which basically through the caves in the body. I have a video on the caves in the body. You can explore that as well. The second chakra is the point where the womb, where the baby can grow and then be born from the mother. So that's what we call the cave is guha. So this is bija guha, the guha of the seed, where the seed is planted and it grows. And then the mouth is associated to the fifth chakra, where we produce sound and voice and words. That's gyan guha. So that would be the fifth chakra, and that's associated to the other cave. We have another cave in the heart. We talk about this in the video in detail. I'm not going to go into it now. But it's very interesting that this wahe, for Waheguru, connects these two. And we can see it also in the swaha. Joined with the letter S, swaha. And the letter S is very significant because it's a sibilant, and that it's like the vibration of the snake. And we know Kundalini has this serpent energy. And we will explore more about the letter S in this course later on. But it's just interesting to reflect now that the sound swaha would be vibrating the Kundalini, waking it up from the cave of the bija, bija guha, up to the cave of the mouth, gyan guha, and saying the words out, swaha, swaha. I think that's very interesting. If we have this in our consciousness when we are chanting, there's certainly going to be an impact. Let's look at the next chakra. That would be Ram. And that one of the names of God in India is Rama. I see it very light, but hopefully you can see it. I'm just writing Rama here, which is Ram, 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 the way we vibrate this third chakra. Rama is a Hindu god, but it's interesting, this R sound is like an engine. Hara, 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 Rama, 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 Rama. In Hara we find this also very strongly, Hara also combines the fifth with this third chakra in this case, and is which is like a vibration, like an engine. An engine wants to run, it wants to move, it wants to go into action, and this is what third chakra is all about: fire of action, moving. So interesting that the sound associated is Rama, and that's going to charge the third chakra and the Nabi, from where the action is going to happen. And Ra, there is an association with Ra, with Amon-Ra, the Egyptian pharaoh, who was associated with the sun, and the sun is light, and the third chakra is associated with fire. Fire produces light, so there's a connection here with this Ra sound. So let's explore a few more names. For example, so we can we mentioned Layla. Here with the R and with the V, I didn't do any with the V. I can do one with the V as well. Let's say, actually, I can join both. Let's do Valerie, comes to mind right now. Valeria in Spanish, I'm not sure. Valerie, maybe with a Y in the end. Valerie. Which is very interesting. The name sounds like valor, like courage. And you would be able to separate the V, the L, and the R. The V would be the second chakra, the L would be the first, and the R would be the third. So that's interesting, Valeria would be a name that would start from the second, start from the wa, start from this wa sound, and then go to touch the first chakra, and then rise to the third. Let's explore with this book, What's in the Word, for a moment. Let's explore what does she say about the W and the R sound, which I haven't done. I forgot to do. So, regarding the W sounds, she talks about how it's waiting. It waits. I'm thinking about how this like the Kundalini is waiting, in the second chakra, around the second chakra, The Kundalini is coiled. It says it's coiled in the cave, but the cave, what is the cave? The entrance is in the first chakra, but it can go up to the third chakra. It sleeps in there, in between. It says W also goes with. W never walks in a straight lines. It's always waves or whirls. It wanders, and it's wiggly, wavery, and winding. Very much like a snake. It was making me think of a snake. It does not reason. This is not reasoning, But it asks questions, like where, what, when, why, whether. But it doesn't reason. She just asks the questions. Where R has the rascals, I don't know this word, the rogues, the rabbis, the rajas, which are all hard to construe as women, W has the witches, the wives, the widows, and the wenches. So she's associating W with a female sound, which is certainly aligned with the yogic philosophy of water being a feminine element, and the fire being a more masculine element would be more associated with the R, like she's saying, like the rascals and the rabbis. Hopefully not, that's not all the masculine is associated with, but that's certainly an association with the sounds, those sounds, words which have that R sound. And remember, every sound has its polarity. It will have its karma and its dharma. So in this case, all this wiggling and wavering and moving up like that, that's going to be on a karmic side, could be like up and down, moving here, moving there, and not knowing what to decide, and always doubting and waiting to know whether, what is this, will it be that, I don't know, is it, with this uncertainty. And then there could be also like a dharmic side, which is waving, kind of moves softly, is less hard than a hard surface, is more soft, the waves are softer, and there is a sensitivity to it, and something like that. I don't want to go too deep into this, because then I would need to bring numbers, and I will explore that with the numerology aspect. But for now, let's just say that the W sound would have this karmic and the dharmic, and the R sound as well. R being the fire. The fire can be something that warms us up when it's a cold day, or it can be something that is burning, like anger, hatred. This is linked to the R sound, the Ra, these rascals that she was talking about. So let's see. Here is the R. Okay, what does she say about the R? R is active, directed force. Isn't that incredible? That's so much associated to Nabi. That's it. It is red, rowdy, and roguish. And we know that the red is the color associated to the first chakra, but fire has the red in it. So it's connected to the red. It's run, but it's also rational. Remember, the second chakra is not rational. It may ask questions, but it's not rational. It may wonder, but it's not rational. The rational is more associated to the third chakra. Now, we could also link this to the spiritual bodies, and we would say that the second spiritual body is the negative mind, which is linked to the subconscious, which is flowing like water, and the third spiritual body is associated with the positive mind, which is linked to a logical understanding and use of the mind in a logical way. So there's certainly a connection with the sound of the R. It reasons and then acts. So thinking and acting, but also reacts. This would be more like a dharmic expression. Reaction would be more like the karmic expression. Maybe acting without thinking, reacting without thinking. It can be as supporting as a rock, but if not, it leads to wrack and ruin. This is the anger side as well. The R, which can create anger. It thinks in terms of right and wrong, and it's often at war with the waviest, whirlingest, most willful and most womanly of phonemes, the W, the water. occasionally they can work together, but they are generally at war with each other. So I like the way she philosophizes. Margaret Magnus has a lovely way to philosophize on the sounds, and I find it very relevant to the vibration of these chakras. So Valeria would be vibrating from the second chakra, Valerie, and she would be first connected to this feminine energy, maybe asking questions. Then would come the third one with the logical and the thinking to go into action. Sorry, she would go into the first one then, not the third one yet. The first one, which is the one about heaviness and lightness and gravity and what is important, what is not. So maybe she would be like, so what about this, wondering about something, and then what is important, what is it not important, and then from there going into action. This is a way to understand the name, and it could be relevant. And again, we could find dharmic expressions of the V, the L, and the R, Valerie, or karmic expressions of the name. Yeah, we could find anyone who has a vibration in their names like this, and explore what could it mean. Raúl, another name just came into my mind. Raúl is a Spanish name. Or an L, that would be from the third to the first chakra. So like 3 would be like the fire, yeah, and going into the earth, which is something very connected. Both of them are male energies, and a fire, fire burns, and when you burn something, you create ashes. So ashes would be like the earth. Yeah, you could see a connection like that. And action 3, 1, weight, actions which have weight, which have relevance, which are important. So Raúl could be concerned with those things. Or the fire of the R could burn you, yeah, and be very heavy, and L would be something heavy inside. So these are ways to see the dharmic or the karmic. Yeah. Now, don't take this too literally. Everybody who you have a name, just because you have this sound, you shouldn't just try to analyze it like this. Just be open. Just meditate on the sound, vibrate, and feel open to whatever the name is telling you, and just meditate on that. Should we move on? Should we go to the next chakra? That's Yam. Fourth chakra, Yam. So the name of God that I was associated with this one is Yama. Now, Yama is the god of death in Hinduism, and it was said that it was the first mortal to die in the Vedas. But Yam, 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 Yam. This is the vibration of Yam, Yam, I am, I am, I am. Yeah, when we do this meditation, I am, 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 Yam, 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 Yam. So the vibration is who I am, my identity, who I resonate with. And it's interesting that it's associated with the heart, because this is where we feel that we exist, in the heart, yeah? If we ask, hey, you say, who, me? We point to the heart. That's where we feel that we exist. So that's associated to our Satnam as well, yeah? Our who we are, our identity, I mean. So interesting that this I am is linked to our Satnam, yeah? Because we breathe inhaling Sat, exhaling Nam, and so it's associated also to the fourth chakra, Satnam. And actually, if we look at the Mul Mantra, Ek Onkar Satnam, 1, 2, 3, 4. So Ek Onkar Satnam. Satnam would be associated to the fourth element, is the fourth element of the Mul Mantra. So linking Satnam with I am, and knowing Yam as the god of death, the first mortal to die, this would be sort of like interesting. Another element, I just came to me as I was speaking, Yamas. Yeah, I was thinking not just Yama as the god of death, but Yamas and the Yamas, like the first step really in Yoga Sutras, where Patanjali is describing the 8 steps towards Samadhi. First one is Yamas, then Niyamas, and that's kind of like the ethical code of the yogis. So ethical code is like your morality, something that your heart tells you something is right or not right to do. And on some way, this is taught from a technological way. If you do this, it's going to be karma, so don't do it, right? But this is like the moral compass of yogis, the yamas and the niyamas. So putting all this together, the moral compass, and putting together the first mortal who dies is yama, and this aspect of I am, we could say that we could live life as a mortal being with a moral compass, guiding us, always following the path of the heart, being guided by the heart, the path in the heart, which the heart is in the middle between the lower chakras and the higher. So that would be the path of the middle, like Buddha was saying, the middle path. I'm just connecting many things. I'm just associating many things. As I said, today's video is more about philosophizing. So I'll just let go and I just allow all these thoughts to come. There is another name, interesting, that we associate with God in the Old Testament. We could write like this. Yahweh, which is the Y would be 4, and Yahweh. The H is kind of implicit here, so there is a little 5 here in the middle and here as well, and the V would be the 2. So interesting, Yahweh has these 4 and 2, very female qualities, yeah, both of them, and it's interesting that W and Y, we can find it, Y, W, W, Y, V, like W. This we find it in the mantra Vayanti, yeah? I'm not saying that the mantra Vayanti would come from Hebrew, from the Hebrew language. I'm just saying that there is the same vibration within Yahweh and Vayanti. Just speaking vibrationally, simply, there is the same vibration. So I like to explore these things and I find them interesting. I don't know if it says anything or not, but there it is. Now, let's go to the 5th chakra. That would be, let's read the book. Let's see what the book says about this. She writes it like a little J, but it's a Y. It talks about large distances and long periods of time and longing, years, yearning, yodeling, and yawning. I mean, the longing is something that we generally associate to the 2nd chakra, longing to belong, but we feel the pain in the heart, yeah? Oh, it's like the emotions from the 2nd chakra, they rise to the heart, and they can either become emotion to devotion, we either transform it into devotion, or we just feel the pain in the heart, the pain of the longing and the separation. So from the 2nd chakra comes to the 4th chakra. So that's interesting. Just gonna mention that she talks about this you and seeks to join together. We could go into it, but not all of this helps as much, and I don't want to confuse. So I'm just gonna point out some of the things that resonate, and the others. If you want to get this book, you can read the book in detail and meditate on that. It's very interesting. But it talks about how this year seeks to join. Yeah. I think join is more like a J than a Y. J, but the vibration of J, when we go to consonants, we will see that it's very close to the heart. Not exactly, but very close to the heart. And so it would make sense that it's also trying to join together. If you are yearning for something, you are trying to join together with something, yeah? And we know that the join is the name of yoga. We like to think that yoga is a path of being in the heart. So it would certainly be connected. All right. That was the Y. Now, let's go into the H. Hum. And the H sound, I mentioned in the other video how it has significance in a few different ways. On one side, hum is when you're expelling air. and air comes from the fourth chakra. So there is a connection between hum and the fourth chakra, even though it's associated with the fifth chakra. So there's the other association of H is the Bij sound for the fifth chakra, but it vibrates in the fourth as well. So when we are with this mantra, with this sound, these words of aham, aham, I am, this aham, hum, even though it's the fifth chakra, we associate I am with I am who I am, which is the fourth chakra. So hum, the sound hum, vibrates between the fourth and the fifth, which is two chakras which are very, very close together anyway. And so if we were going to write here some of the names and very important mantras that we utilize. By the way, Allah, Rama, this would be Bij mantras, huh? I didn't mention Wahuru. These would be Bij mantras, and they are. So these are the ones. These are Bij sounds. These are the Bij sounds for the chakras, and these are Bij mantras. So I'm gonna write one with the hum, but this is not necessarily a Bij mantra. I'm just gonna write it because we chant it very often in Kundalini Yoga, which is the Hami Ham Brahm Ham. I'm gonna write it the way we generally see it. Hami Ham Brahm Ham. And this is a mantra that is often chanted very, very throaty, like in the back of the throat. Hami hum brahm hum, hami hum brahm hum. Yeah, very much in the back of the throat. And hummi would be connecting the H with the M, like we are doing with every sound. Hum, 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 yeah. Hami hum brahm, brahm. Brahm has the B, which is connected to the V of Vam, but also the R. So Brahm has the B connected to the V. Is not the same one. This is a consonant, but we will see when we get to consonants that B and V are very connected. It's not so unusual to think this. It's very quite. You could think intuitively. You could know this. B and V are connected. But we will find it later more in detail in the following videos. And then there's the R, Brahma, Brahma. So there's the V and the R, Brahma, 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 Brahma. So Hami Ham Brahm Ham, Hami Ham Brahm Ham, Hami Ham Brahm Ham. And in chakras would be Hami Ham Brahm Ham, Hami hum brahm hum. So it's like 5 5 2 3 5 5 5 2 3 5. It's like the telephone number of God. You have to know the number to call so that God can answer. So we are giving telephone numbers right now. Yeah, these are different telephone numbers for the different operators of God. All right, I'm getting a little bit creative now here. All right, another sound that, another name of God. This is more like a mantra that I wanted to mention, but more rigorously like a Bij mantra would be Hara. Har or Hara. And Hara is Ha, like the Bij mantra for Bij sound for the fifth chakra, and the R, which is associated to the third. Hara is generally described like the creative aspect of God. So that would be linking the 5 and the 3. Ha-ra. Interesting that in the description, the details, when we talk about chanting Hara, we talk about how there has to be a link between the navel point and the point at the tip of your tongue. So it's like Hara, Hara, yeah? Ha, the navi goes in, and the Ra, the tip of the tongue touches the behind the teeth. Hara, 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 Hara. And in many meditations, it's said to do this with the tip of the tongue. Very, very precise. Not in any way. It says the tip of the tongue. So precision in this Hara, Hara. Hara would be a sound that also would imply having to go down into the first chakra. And Hara, Hara. There has to be a gravity to the sound. Hara, hara. There is always a rhythm and a heaviness to the gravity with this sound, often chanted with the tantric style. Hara, 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 hara. So there is boom, boom, like steps on the ground, yeah? So it's like gravity, there's gravity to these sounds. Okay, we were talking about different names. Let me explore a name. Okay, let's use HB. The Spanish name, Javier. Javier would be HBR. Yeah. So that would be the 5 and the 2. You would take H as the 5. V would be the 2. And then the R, where is my yellow? Would be the 3. So Javier could be a name that of somebody who starts in the words in the 5, associated with the H sound, and then going into the V, the fluidity of the number 2, and then ending up in the 3 as the action. Like, talking about things, about doing things, the 5. And then 2, is it going to be nourished by my emotions from the second chakra? And so am I going to be able to put it into action, 3? Or am I just going to stay in the 2, in the longing, yeah? Sometimes we abbreviate names and we start calling them Javi, but it's Javier. So maybe there is a difference between being called Javier and sometimes Javi. So you can explore this. There could be a dharmic side and there would be a karmic side to this, both of them. Now, let me read what Margaret Magnus has to say about the letter H. And she says, how is that relationship of belonging between two things? Having, holding, adherence, and home. Relationship of belonging between two things. Can be heaven or hell. It happen expresses such a relationship between an event and a place, which again is two things. Yeah. It can hamper or hinder. And it is high and hollow, ahead and behind. Interesting. So let's go slowly, yeah? Ahead and behind, again, two things. And the polarity, which could be a duality, or you could find the paradox. High and hollow. Hollow, the throat is the only hollow area of our body, yeah? We associated to the emptiness. So very interesting, associated to the fifth chakra. And this could be the filter, yeah? The fifth chakra is the filter to what comes in or what comes out. We should have this chakra filter the words that we're going to say. So we shouldn't say anything just because we think about the word. We should filter the words that come out. We lose a lot of energy through our words. And words have an impact. They can generate, organize, and destroy, G-O-D. There is God in the words. So very much like the title of the book, yeah? God's in the words. So generate, organize, and destroy. The words can have this power. So we should have a filter. The filter is the fifth chakra. And there's this other aspect about two things, yeah, linked together. Very interesting how that we associate it to the fifth chakra. Sometimes we draw it in this way, with this symbol. This is more from Karankriya, but you can see the yin-yang. But drawn in a slightly different, like the number 5 is the yin-yang, where one is a square with a circle in the middle, and the other is round with a little square in the middle. It's maybe a little bit small, but I didn't want to go into the space where the other chakras were. This we associate to the 5, to the H sound. And if you think about the Mool Mantra I was mentioning before, Ekam Kar Satnam Kartapurak. Kartapurak is like how you are and what you do in the world, like inside and outside. It's like these two aspects, no? or like karta is like kirti, prakriti, yeah, and purak is purusha. So prakriti and purusha, there is two aspects as well. And how is the relationship between the two? So very interesting that Margaret would identify in this H sound. It says a relationship of belonging between two things. Yeah, it can be heaven or hell. Yeah, if you don't find the paradox that joins them, it can be hell having these two aspects in between, inside of you, hampering and holding you. Yeah, head and behind, high and hollow. Very, very, very interesting. Well, that would be a name, for example, Javier, who would resonate with these two aspects, and then especially Javier, because the name then goes to the V, to the second chakra, and V is two, second chakra is two aspects. It will be particularly important for Javier to explore these two aspects. How do I live? Do I live duality in my life? How do I explore polarity? How can I find the paradox? Finally, let me just go into the A. And I'm not going to go into names with A because A is everywhere. We talked about vowels already in another video as well. Let me just mention when we are chanting this Bija sound A, we are creating a wave from the third eye, projecting it forward, and imagine the pituitary and the pineal, and you're like kind of, one is a bit farther up and back, up and forward, and the other one is back and down. So you are like that. So from one to the other, and then to the third eye, and then forward, and then you carry on, and imagine this like a wave. So you're like, yeah, creating this wave towards the infinite in front of you. So that would be the A. I'm not going to go into it because we already talked about the vowels. And so this would be a first approximation to the sound. Now, this book is very interesting. It talks about how different traditions have explored different meanings for different sounds. And we could do that. But, I mean, many sounds are associated also to the language. So if we don't speak the language, it's very difficult to talk about that. For example, we could go into the Kabbalah, but I don't speak Hebrew. I cannot explore it. I'm sure it's fascinating, but I don't know it. So it would be pointless for me to explore those sounds associated to the Kabbalah. How are they connected to the chakras? But if you have done this research and you want to share it, please put it in the comments or, share whatever you know, share something. And it could be, I'm very interested to know. And, this very book talks also about runes, the Irish tree alphabet, and also the Japanese Shinto kotokama. And they all have different expressions of the meaning behind sounds. So we could go through all of this. And recently, I have been reading quite a few tantric texts, and they talk about sound and how some sounds have some meanings. We may explore some of that when we go into the conscience, but I am such a beginner on these topics, really. These tantric texts are like fascinating. They are quite complex to read sometimes. The language and the terminology is difficult, and but really incredible. Some things are very relevant, but I feel like I need more years of study before doing the next video on the consonants. So I'm not gonna do that because otherwise, like, this course would be stopped. So I'm going to carry on with what I know, but I would encourage anyone to keep exploring it. And I will keep exploring it. And if I can in the future, when I go into the videos for the numerology, I will bring some of the things that I find out into those videos. So just summing up one little thing. Remember the names of God. They are so vibrating, these sounds. They are so purely associated to the chakras that is astounding, really. That we would say Hara, Yama, Yahweh, Allah. They are so pure. And then others, like for example Shiva. Shiva has the Sh aspect, this Sh sound with Va. Va is the second chakra, and Sh is the sound of the Kundalini. So Shiva is stimulating the Kundalini and the second chakra, where the womb and where the Kundalini could be residing. Vishnu, V, Sh, And no, N is a bit particular. We will talk about N in the consonants. There is three different kinds of N anyway. But it's interesting. Vishnu, Shiva, Brahma, VR, yeah, Brahma. Very interesting. I hope you find it as interesting as I do. I mean, you wouldn't be watching this video until now if you didn't, I guess, unless, I don't know. So if you reach the end of this video, please like it and share it with others if you find it useful. I think this can empower ourselves in our mantra practice, and it can help us find understanding within our names. Maybe you had difficulty with your legal name, the one you were given at birth. All your life it was challenging for you, and then suddenly hearing some of these things can bring you some understanding as to why. Or maybe you want to understand your spiritual name, and the spiritual names tell us a lot about the path we can take. So following this course, you will have an avenue on exploring how to explore the different vibrations of your name. So I hope it is of service to you. That is why I am making this video. So thank you very much, and until next time. Naam.